So oyster season came to an end last week. That used to mean that oysters would not return to our tables until fall. But today, since Brian Spiros has come back to help us celebrate a decade of Delmarva life, he is getting involved as well. We have aquaculture, or aquaculture, what's the right way to say it? Aquaculture.
People know what you're talking about, no matter what
You
you
knew
say.
what I was talking about. Anyway, aquaculture operations, farming oysters so that we can enjoy them year-round.
And aquaculture on Delmarva dates back to the 19th century, and believe it or not, back in 1905, people rioted in the streets over aquaculture. Yeah, aquaculture. Seems like a thing, I guess. All right. Secrets of the Eastern Shore's Jim Duffy has all of the juicy details. Jim, great to see you. We worked closely when I covered
Welcome back.
news
Yes,
up in
it's Throwback for both of us because I used to run the downtown program in Cambridge, and Brian used to come. We'd do stories sitting in the middle of downtown.
I'm sure he got sick of me.
Outside.
Anyway,
I doubt it.
so.
I'm sure the feeling was mutual.
No, it wasn't. So anyway, let's get right into it. Riots? Really?
Yeah. So, well, it's Crisfield. They're passionate about their oysters in Crisfield, right? And back in the time that I'm talking about, right around the turn of the 20th century, the town kind of had a Wild West aspect to it, saloons and gunplay, and it was it was a crazy place. And here in Maryland, the first time they tried aquaculture was 1820. They tried to make it legal. Now, I don't want to go into the weeds. It went through all these different iterations and became a big deal again right around 1900. And this company in Crisfield, the Tangier Packing Company, rented some waters. They leased some waters that then became off limits to watermen. A waterman named Ralph Nelson did not like this, and he proceeded to dredge in their waters. So they tried to go to Nelson's home in Lawsonia and arrest him, but he wasn't there, but his father was there. And they mistreated his father. His father only had one arm, and they were kind of beating him up. And Ralph Nelson showed up right in the middle of that with a bunch of friends, and there was this whole sort of gunplay thing, and the cops backed off. And a couple days later, Nelson goes into town, and he does get arrested. And hundreds of people gather outside of the jail, threatening to free him that night from the injustice of being arrested for dredging in these waters. They don't do anything that night, but the next morning, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people show up for his trial. They had to move the trial into the Opera House, the theater in downtown Crisfield. So they moved it in, and there's 600, 700, 800 people in the theater watching the trial.
Sounds like something out of a movie, and it's real life. It's real life.
The judge pronounces him guilty, and oh boy, there's shouts to kill the judge. There's all these watermen are running toward the stage. They are drawing guns. Get this, the judge draws a gun. Everybody's pointing guns at each other on the stage of the Opera House in front of all these people. There's all this panic, people running this way, running that way. Eventually, Nelson walks out kind of with his posse and parades down Main Street. The judge is held captive there until he changes his decision and pronounces him innocent instead of guilty.
And everything calmed down.
Not really.
Not really.
It sounds like the judge did that because of the pressure of everything going on.
He's being held at gunpoint. So for the next several days, all of the watermen in the area, they picked all those leased waters of the Tangier Packing Company clean. They just went there. Everything was completely lawless and crazy for 4 or 5 days, when the governor finally caught up with things and sent down the Oyster Navy to bring it in.
The Oyster Navy.
The Oyster Navy, that was the police of the Chesapeake Bay back in the day.
Wow.
So they finally calmed things down, and then there were all, in the decades that followed, there were all these eruptions about aquaculture and everything like that. It ended up aquaculture was illegal after the 1960s. It was illegal.
So was this
until relatively recently.
Kind of the start of the oyster wars and everything?
It was in the middle of the oyster
In the middle
wars.
of?
Yeah, it was right in the middle of it. It was right in the middle
How
of it.
about that?
I know.
Jim Duffy, author of Secrets of the Eastern Shore. Thank you so much for another enrapturing tale.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.